We have a power-packed session today, multiple topics to discuss, very, very important topics. And to discuss these, let's welcome Yashaswini. Yashaswini is a physiotherapist practicing in Toronto, Canada. She is also a mind-body wellness and a hypnosis coach. She's also a spiritual teacher and has taken many, many sessions for Shambhala. Welcome, Yash. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Shibu. It's a pleasure and I'm grateful to be here. So I just want to head straight to the discussion since we were talking about the three grand happenings. And in order to really understand the second happening where energy starts filling up, we need to understand what this energy is. So let's talk about energy briefly. So let's talk about this energy. Energy is basically, it's like a universal life force energy. And throughout the years, throughout centuries, different cultures have given this energy a different name. Now, the Japanese may have called it ki, like Reiki, and the Chinese have called it chi, as in Tai Chi and other things you may have heard of. And then in our culture, we see Yoga Sutras and Ayurveda mention about prana. This prana is nothing but energy, cosmic energy. And the scientists have a scientific name for it, and it's called biofield. So just like it has different names, and this energy is almost palpable. It is something we all sense and feel. So I want to dive a little deeper into this for us to make the connection as to why meditation is effective. Now, I want each one of us to picture us as not just a body, but we are almost like bubbles of energy. Each one of us is almost like a signature, a unique signature print. Like we have our own energy system. Like you may have seen paintings of gods and angels and saints. They have a bright white or a golden aura behind their head, almost like a circular bright light. And sometimes we also feel this energy in the presence of a beautiful, loving person or a baby or something that's more light, more positive. So when you think of it, every one of us, based on our repetitive thoughts, feelings, experiences, we have a unique energy bubble. Now, you can either make this energy more beautiful or let life and its challenges or mindsets, old habits affect you. So, meditation comes into play. The more we meditate, the more our energy centers, our chakras get purified. So, as you can see, I want to also briefly talk about the 7 chakras because I remember we had some questions about guilt and such things which are bothering most of us. Sometimes we experience unforgiveness, sometimes we experience guilt. And each one of these energy centers specifically deals with a certain healing, a certain emotion. So when we meditate, we are in fact inviting this energy, this chi, this ki flow to flow through our chakras, through our energy centers, through our body, and make this bubble around us very beautiful, pure love, pure joy. So let's talk about the 7 chakras briefly. Firstly, as you can see this picture, it's almost like a rainbow. So the colors are like a rainbow: violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red. Just like the order, each color references to a certain chakra, a certain energy center. And I want to talk about each one of them so you have an idea of what a specific chakra is. First, it's the root chakra or the Muladhara chakra. Now, this is your base. This is at the base. It is at the tailbone of the spine. Now, your root chakra is basically your energy center for stability, abundance, feeling safe and secure, having good health. All of these are what this chakra represents. It's like a foundation. In order to have higher story buildings, the foundation needs to be firm and strong. So your root chakra corresponds to your survival. And as you can see, the color is red and it is blocked by fear. Now, the goals of when it's balanced, it can help you have stability, grounding, physical health, prosperity, and trust. Now, excessive characteristics. Whenever a chakra is imbalanced, it can either be excessively moving or it can be slowly moving. So, when it's not in its right energy orientation, when those discs of energy or the chakras are not moving in a balanced, harmonious way, we can either have excessive characteristics or we can have deficient characteristics. So, when your root chakra is not balanced, it can actually, if it is excessive, as you can see, it can lead to heaviness, sluggish behavior, monotony, obesity, hoarding, materialism, greed. And if it is deficient, it can cause fear, undisciplined mind, restlessness, and feeling underweight. So, these are briefly an introduction to your root chakra. Next, we move on to the second chakra, which is the Swadhisthana chakra. And this is your center for releasing, for feeling life, enjoying the life's pleasures, the little moments, the big moments. This is your chakra, which is in the element of emotions, which is related to like the water element. Now, this is located above the genitals just before the belly button, like an orange chakra. And the basic issue is sexuality and emotions. So sometimes when we hold guilt and we don't allow ourselves to live our life or experience the little happiness or the joys of life or the small things or just savoring the small things like sunset or just living life with peace, with ease, allowing yourself, that's when this chakra causes some blocks. And the reason we talk about these is to I ask yourself, like, where am I feeling blocked? Do I allow myself to enjoy these things? So that will actually help you understand which chakra or which energy center could need more healing, more connection, or simple mindfulness. So that's about the sacral chakra, Swadhisthana chakra. Now, if it is not balanced, if it is excessive, or if it is not in the perfect balance, it causes poor boundaries, craving, addictions, and obsessive attachments. And as you can tell, the opposite, if it is deficient, it can cause rigidity, impotence, emotionally numb, and fearful of pleasure. So these are the characteristics. The next one is your solar plexus chakra or the Manipura chakra. This, as you can see, is a yellow chakra. Picture this around the navel area, almost like a bright sun. Now, this, as you can feel from the sun energy, helps you with self-confidence and belief in yourself and the ability to take action, to be disciplined, to have the vitality. As you can see, the goals of a balanced solar plexus is about self-esteem, purpose, vitality, willpower, and spontaneity. So over time, if you notice that if it is blocked, it may be due to ego, or that is the cause which could lead to excessive characteristics like dominating, controlling, bullying, aggressive, scattered, and constantly active, always wanting something to keep you busy because your ego does not feel calm on its own. Now, the deficient characteristics are weak will, poor self esteem, passive, sluggish, and fearful. As you can tell, if you notice you are lacking the will or the energy to achieve your goals or looking at yourself and feeling the high self-esteem, then you know this chakra could be blocked. Your heart center is located, as you can tell, in the center of the chest, near the heart and the lungs, and the element is air. Now, as you can see the color, it's green, and this is to do with relationships. Now, a balanced heart is someone that has more love, forgiveness, acceptance for oneself and for others. So, healthy relationships are a sign of a balanced heart chakra. Now, something that can block the heart chakra is grief, yeah, and unforgiveness. So, if we hold on to grief or unforgiveness, a lot of times our heart feels closed off, almost as if we are protecting it or allowing ourselves to not feel the feeling of love. So, whenever we have issues in relationships, working on the heart center is a solution. And excessive characteristics can lead to the following: codependency, possessiveness, jealousy, needing attention, and poor boundaries. And if there is deficiency, then it can lead to feeling shy, lonely, isolated, lack of empathy, feeling bitter, and feeling critical. So take a moment and ask yourself, where have I blocked myself from loving openly, sending love to strangers, sending love to work colleagues, sending love to friends and family, and of course, sending love to myself. So the more we allow our heart to open up, the more our heart center expands. And this energy is felt by people around you. The next one is your throat chakra, which is the Vishuddha. Now, your throat chakra is mainly about communicating, about expressing yourself, your creativity. So, the goal is clear communication, creativity, and resonance. And when it is blocked, it could be due to lying, due to being afraid of speaking up. So, a lot of times we block our creativity when we don't express ourselves. And when this throat chakra, which is located right around this throat area, which is blue in color, when it is excessive, it's not balanced. When it is excessive, it leads to excessive talking, not thinking, just talking, and not being a good listener, inability to listen, and feeling scattered like all over the place. And deficient characteristics may cause the person to feel shy to speak up, difficulty speaking. So ask yourself, how do you feel about speaking up, expressing yourself, and identify how you can start expressing your creativity through art or other methods. And then comes the third eye chakra, which is located right here in the middle of the head at the brow level. Now, this is also known as the Ajna chakra, and the element is light, and the color, as you can see, is indigo. Now, the basic issue, this chakra is related to your imagination and intuition. This is the seed of intuition. And the demon or the one thing that blocks it is illusion, getting caught up with other, could be materialism or being not accepting the spiritual reality of life. So the goals of this balanced chakra is feeling psychic, perceptive, having accurate interpretation, imagination, and clear seeing. When this is not balanced and if it is excessive, it causes headaches, nightmares, hallucinations, delusions, and difficulty with focus. And if it is not, if it is deficient, then this leads to poor memory, poor vision, unimaginative, feeling, living in denial, and closed mindedness. So ask yourself if you notice any imbalance in this level. And the last one is your crown chakra, which is located right above your head. It is the crown of head. And this is white or violet. And this is of pure consciousness. This is like your connection to divinity. And it is the one thing that blocks your crown chakra is attachment and ignorance. And self-knowledge helps you balance this chakra. And the goals of this balanced chakra are wisdom, knowledge, and spiritual connection. And whenever there is excessive characteristics, it doesn't mean just because it is the crown chakra, which is about divinity, everything has to be in balance. So we have to also be connected to our earthly reality, and everything has to be balanced, every level from the root chakra to the crown. And we will discuss in conclusion how you can work on this. So getting back, excessive characteristics actually make you overly intellectual, spiritual addiction, confusion, and disconnection from earthly reality. And deficiency causes learning difficulties, spiritual skepticism, limited beliefs, materialism, apathy, and disconnection from divine energy. Now, that's about the seven chakras. And I hope this makes sense. I hope we understand how these different energy centers impact different layers and levels of our life. And putting it all together, I would say there are different schools of thoughts to balance your energy. But the reason I wanted to bring this up briefly was to help you understand how different levels and layers impact our emotions and how every energy center can actually positively impact your energy. So, the school of thought which I like to follow is the best way to, rather than nitpicking on individual energy centers and chakras, it is best to connect through breath meditation. As we do our breath meditation, we are automatically inviting this pure cosmic energy, which is pure love, which is pure light, which is pure beauty, pure joy. And the moment we connect to this beautiful energy, it works through every level, through every chakra, through every energy center. And we don't have to work individually, but every time we are meditating, every day, each one of you are participating in this amazing session, you are actually inviting more cosmic energy, and that beautiful cosmic energy is clearing these blocks on different levels. And you don't even have to understand how do I fix this chakra, but every time you meditate, you are full of light. That's how it works.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Yash. Again,
You're
I mean, if you want to use an analogy for this, Yash, for just what you just said, right? Just don't
Yes.
worry about how the brake works or anything. Just if you have a car, just fuel it up and keep driving and not worry about how the accelerator works and how the brake works and all that, right? Just drive the car, fuel it up. Do the meditation, get the energy. Now we have a very intellectual understanding of the energy. Now we know how it works, fuel it up and keep driving. Beautiful concept. Thank you so much for this. All right, Yash. So now let's move on to the next topic. There's a main topic, and that is the science of observation. I hope you all heard about the great master Osho. So he has talked about every single spiritual concept out there, right? Essentially, thousands and thousands of books have been written based on what he has talked about. And it was, he actually said a very interesting thing, that his entire teaching can be brought down to one word, essentially. And for somebody who's such a prolific writer, who's taught about so many things, that one word is watchfulness. One word which summarizes every single teaching, which is observation. So friends, this is not a concept. This is a tool which we can use in our spiritual journey. It's a tool. It's about how part of it, right? We have looked at the why. This is the how part of it. So I request your full attention to the session. It's very, very important. We are scientists, a spiritual scientist, and this is a tool for us. Over to you, Yash.
Thank you. All right. So, yes, Shibu, thank you for the lovely introduction. And today we are going to talk about the how of meditation and how we can observe and how we can meditate better. So, let's get straight to the topic. And the topic for today is science of observation. And I want to firstly talk about what observation is. And basically, observation it involves three key words. Now, it is looking at a situation either inside of us or outside of us, within or the circumstances around us. Now, there are three key words to define this observation. It is giving attention to, taking in the awareness of, and standing witness to. Now, you can only give your attention in the present moment. You cannot give attention your breath or whatever it is. You can only give attention to the now moment, not the past breath, not the future breath. But your attention can be given in this mindfulness, in this awareness, in this moment. And secondly, when you think of a witness if you look at a witness, the way we define a witness is a witness never tampers with the evidence. A witness will always just say, I saw this. A witness never tries to interrupt or change the situation. So, as an observer, we are witnesses and we are attentive in the present moment and we are aware of what is happening. So, that's the main way to look at observation. And observation is of the whole. And I want to read this quote to highlight what it is. You are not your thoughts and feelings, you are the space in which they come and go. To give you an example, I always like to picture this. Think of the sky. The sky is unchanging, and the weather can keep changing. It could be rainy one day, it could be cloudy one day, it could be sunny and bright one day. The weather does not impact the sky because the sky is unchanging. The thoughts which we experience, the experiences and thoughts can come and go, but who we really are is like the sky. So when you are detached from what is coming and going, you are automatically an observer. Now, let's talk about observation a little more. Observation makes you see things exactly as they are. Now, when you no longer perceive the world as hostile, there is no more fear, and there is no more fear, then you can think, speak, and act differently, which means a lot of times we are colored. We have preconceived notions, we have perceptions of everything. So sometimes we don't even let the reality surface before something happens. We have assumptions in our head, and we let those fears and assumptions stop us from seeing what is there around us in that moment. So observation makes you a detached observer. Now, our nature as we as souls or as our being is an observer, and our job is to not be colored. Another example that I like to think of is, say you're walking on a street. Now, there may be cabs coming in. You cannot take every cab you get in and then pay for it, right? So your thoughts are like cabs. If you got into every cab that came in, like your taxi, and you got in and took the ride, you're going to end up paying a lot for the taxi, right? So do not get into every cab that comes to you. You are just walking by. You choose which taxi you're going to take. And if you save your energy, you're actually just letting them come and go. Come and go. Do not choose to enter the taxi. That is how you can be an observer, like a detached person. Now, I want to give you another example or a story to make observation make more sense. So, once upon a time, there was a famous artist and he used to paint the most amazing paintings. So, the artist's friend decided to request him to teach his son this beautiful skill. So the artist agreed, and the next day, the mentor and the student had their first session. And the mentor decided to place a fishbowl on the table. And he asked his student to observe. He said, look at this fishbowl and observe. Observe and tell me what you see. I will come back in an hour. After an hour, the student, it's his first day, he sees the color of the fish, maybe a few details, and then he tells the mentor that I saw so and so, I saw this. And then the master starts asking questions. He says, what color was the fin? Does the fin have an angle? Did it have shades of another color? And the student says, oh, I didn't observe that. So the teacher says, okay, I will give you another 1 hour, observe this fishbowl, and I will be back. Next, he comes back and he asks, what did the fish have eyelashes? Does the water make a certain sound? And the student realizes, oh, he didn't observe that. So then this goes on and on. Every time the teacher makes the student realize that there is so much more to see, so much more to hear, so much more to smell. Like with each lesson, he was understanding that he was barely observing. So this is an example of how much is there to be aware of around us if we are present in the moment, in the present moment, minus being distracted by our repetitive thoughts and feelings. There is a method to observe. So, a lot of times we tend to judge ourselves when we lose concentration when we are meditating. We tend to criticize or label ourselves saying, "Oh, I cannot meditate," or "I cannot focus," or "my mind is just too loud," or things like that. So, as an observer, you just observe. You just analyze your different moods and then you watch it. That's it. So, in observation, take in the whole and refrain as best as possible from drawing conclusions. You do not have to jump into labeling things, just observe. So, the key is, as you can see here, watch, do not add. That's the key. So, as an observer, you will just observe everyone, yourself and the people around you, your feelings, thoughts, motion, intention, and that's the way to become an excellent observer. Now, observation in a way helps you because it makes you less reactive and more responsive. Now, if I had to think of an example, Lord Buddha comes to my mind. Buddha is the perfect example of an observer. He would be calm, he would be zen, and he had that amazing observer energy. So that's the goal. We want to learn to be less and less reactive and more responsive. So every time we meditate, every time we observe our breath or we observe our responses, we are creating a distance between ourselves and the object. So it actually gives us control over the object. Now, again, I like to give some examples to make them more sense. So another one is, if you can think of your friend and you having an argument and you are both really into the thick of it, you both are having anger and you're just getting, how one word leads to another and then the anger builds up. But in that moment, if you were to pause, take a breath, and just observe like a bird's eye view, you would suddenly either become more empathetic of your friend or maybe look at it in a silly way and laugh about it, or you would understand what your friend felt and suddenly you would not be colored by those intense angry emotions or from the place of ego. You would not be working from that space. So actually, observation is one skill that can help you at work, in relationships, and as a meditating. And that is one of the best skills to have. So observation, a detached observer, say it is far better to observe than to absorb every word, feeling, and attitude. Observation creates an inner focus that allows us to see reality. This is something which really helps you look from a different perspective. Like rather than being in the deep in the well, you are actually at the top of a hill and getting a bird's eye view. They are two very different things. And as an observer, you actually get a bird's eye view. So that can help you detach from your thoughts. And there are benefits to observing. Helps you correct yourself, helps you gain control of not just yourself, but your reaction. You are less reactive and it leads to self-dependency and it creates distance between you and the object and therefore gives you control over the object. Again, we are not saying that you are cold or not having emotions, but rather from a place of love, you are more distant in the sense you understand things from a greater perspective. Now, linking it all together to spirituality, observation and thinking, observation and spirituality, let's talk about this. Now, observation disidentifies you from what you are not. Now, not self means let's remind ourselves that we are not the body, we are not our emotions, we are not our possessions, we are not even our mind, we are not our thoughts, we are not our ideas. And once you observe that you are actually not any of these, you are actually more joyful, more independent, more free, and actually more powerful. So, as an observer, you realize that you are an observer, you are a being that is observing all of these experiences. And that is why none of those emotions or thoughts can actually color you. So, that is one way of connecting with spiritual aspects of ourselves. And the second thing I want to mention is, what is the difference between thinking and observing? Thinking is always, we are often thinking about the future, worried about the future, recollecting past memories. We are thinking one thought to another. Sometimes we are logically solving problems, and there's a lot going on. Like we can jump from one thought to another, from past to present. But as an observer, again, picture the sky and picture the clouds, the rain, the weather changes. So, as an observer, you are just observing these thoughts and patterns. And observation only happens in the present moment. The more mindful we are, the more we can observe. So, one way to look at it is, you can only observe your present breath. You can only be mindful in the now moment. And thoughts can happen of past and future, but your observation can only happen in this breath and this moment. So, observation is actually helping you be mindful, which is one of the core foundations of Zen teachings and Buddhism and mindfulness. And that brings us to the next part. And this is another lovely reason why we need to observe. All failures and defeats are because of lack of observation. A lot of times, when accidents happen or when we do certain mistakes at work, it is because we say, "Oh, I didn't pay attention," or "I wasn't paying attention. I didn't know what I was doing in that moment. I forgot about it." So, it's about not being observant slash meditating, slash being mindful, not being present in the moment is what causes failures. And another story that I would like to mention here briefly is uh, the author Torkom Sardarian, who has written wonderful books on observation, talks about wonderful times when actually he was able to save himself from difficult situations due to his power of observation. He was out with his friends to a beautiful crystal clear lake, and they decided to swim at this beautiful lake. And turns out that when all of his friends decided to swim, the author decided to observe the lake. And upon observing, he noticed that not a single living creature was actually in the lake. He immediately felt a sense that something was wrong. And in that moment, he tried to warn his friends, but his friends were like, "The lake looks too pure, too clear, too beautiful. So we are going to go ahead anyway." And they did not listen to the author, and they went in and swam. So turns out that afterwards, they all had rashes, and they realized that the lake had radioactive waste in it, which is why there was not a single living creature in the lake. And the only reason the author could protect himself was because he was present in the moment and he observed. And as we observe, we actually prevent failures, we prevent mistakes, we can actually be more aware in the present moment. We can even notice something that's wrong with our loved ones and correct them. When we are present to what our loved ones are saying, we are more mindful and we are more present for them. So, observation is the core foundation of everything. To end this, I would say the supreme purpose. Now, observation, as we discussed, it can help you in relationships, at work, with life, prevent failures. But the highest purpose, the supreme purpose of observation is to disidentify our consciousness or our awareness from our bodies. So, a detached observer actually helps you see at life differently, and it can help you, in fact, find answers to every question of life. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And again, there is a quick question from Aditya, which is, what's the difference between awareness and observation?
Awareness is also a way of observing, just being aware in the present moment, having mindfulness. Sometimes we are lost in our thoughts. And in order to actually notice the now moment, we need to be aware. So it is more like mindfulness. So I wouldn't like to define or conceptualize certain definitions, but in general, it just feels like being present in the moment is awareness. When you have awareness, you can observe things.
When you had mentioned that if your some of your chakras over are overworking overtime, how do you reset them? For example, you spoke about the heart chakra overworking at solar plexus. I have a hard time sitting down. I started meditating, but I don't know why I have so much energy. I don't know what to do with it. So if you can help me, how I can be more calmer. Thank you.
Yes, for sure. Firstly, like I said, I would say rather than focusing on individual chakras, just the fact that you are able to start with the process of attending these sessions, that's the initial step where you meditate for 45 minutes, 30 minutes. And if you can continue this practice despite the sessions at home, whenever you can, the more you connect with the cosmic, the more, like we were talking about the three grand happenings, like the more you meditate, the more you invite cosmic energy to flow through your body, and the more it enters you, the more the chakras get cleared. So I personally like to go by that one standard rule, which is meditation. Meditation is the best way to overcome these blocks. Sometimes we think, I have a block in my heart or I have a block in my throat. And the best way is to ask yourself, what can I do? How do I fix this? Is there something that's coming intuitively? And the second thing is to just have your daily spiritual practice like meditation, which helps.